laws promote and spread discrimination and bigotry. In this episode of Origin of Everything, we'll be analyzing the discriminatory history of US law, tracing its origins in colonialism to the present-day penal system. In order to deconstruct this troubling history, we'll be looking at 4 distinct time periods of US law. First, we'll look at the foundation of legal discrimination based on race during colonialism. Next, we'll examine the system of chattel slavery to see how the legacies of colonialism translated into ongoing legal subjugation for Black subjects in the US. Third, we'll explore how Jim Crow laws extended legal discrimination into the 20th century. And finally, we'll discuss how the concepts of being tough on crime in the latter half of the 20th and early 21st century allowed the continuation and expansion of discriminatory laws under the umbrella of mass incarceration. By tracing this timeline, we'll be looking at the ways discriminatory legal practices have always disproportionately impacted Black and Brown communities, and how these legacies and laws continue to have adverse effects on vulnerable communities to this day. But before we get into the heart of how laws and sentencing structures can be discriminatory, we should clarify a few key terms, namely crime and punishment. And no, I'm not talking about the Dostoevsky novel of the same name. I'm talking about crime or breaking of laws and punishment, as in the penalty you pay as a result of being found guilty of committing a crime. Although we often think of these things as directly correlated, think of the old adage, if you do the crime, you've got to do the time, there's actually not a direct relationship between how much crime is committed and what types of punishment are meted out. In his book, Thinking About Crime, Sense and Sensibility in American Penal Culture, Professor Michael Tonry notes that nations with remarkably similar crime rates often have vastly different sentencing and punishment standards. He determines that crime rates and punishment rates often don't align, and that governments decide how much punishment they want. He writes, "This can be seen by comparing crime and punishment trends in Finland, Germany, and the United States between 1960 and 1990. The trends are close to identical. Violent crime rates in all 3 countries grew by a factor of 3 to 4, and homicide rates more than doubled. Yet the US imprisonment rate quadrupled in that period, the Finnish rate fell by 60%, and the German rate was broadly stable." So in this example, we see 3 countries with almost identical crime trends, with 3 starkly different ideas of punishment. Therefore, when we analyze how laws are broken and punishment is assigned, we have to look at why societies change their stances on crime and punishment. Tonry attributes this to a few factors, 2 important ones being moral panics and the sensibilities of a society. Moral panics, as he describes them, occur when a society sees a moral or social issue and overreacts as a result, which usually leads to increased rates of punishment or more severe punishment for offenders. Another cause is that societal sensibilities, or the attitudes and beliefs of the society, often change, which in turn changes the types of acts we consider crimes and the types of things we consider as just punishment. So although we're often taught to look at crime as directly correlated to punishment, there's actually an argument to be made that they're working somewhat independently of each other. Which brings us to our first stop in the history of legal discrimination in the United States: colonialism and slavery. After colonies were established in North America, colonists were subject to the laws and customs of England. In their essay Situating Colonialism, Race, and Punishment, Professors Jeeta Chowdhury and Mark Beeman explain how the development of slavery in the North American colonies, and later in the early United States, became dependent on the passage of discriminatory laws that specifically targeted people of African descent. They detail how, although the concept of discrimination based on ethnic or social groups dates back to antiquity, the idea that race was entirely based on skin tone and physical features evolved alongside the emergence of chattel slavery. Then the ideal was solidified with the emergence of scientific racism in the 18th and 19th centuries. Chowdhury and Beeman go on to note that although some of the original people of African descent who entered the English colonies came as indentured servants and were eventually set free, similar to English indentured servants, this quickly changed when colonists turned to chattel slavery as a source of consistent, exploited, and unpaid labor. They write, "In other words, slavery seems to have evolved, in part, as a punishment reserved for Africans originally indentured. English indentured servants, presumably protected by English rights and the Christianity they shared with their masters, avoided such punishment. From the 1640s through the 1660s, with the principle of lifelong involuntary servitude established for Africans in colonial America, individual colonies began enacting legislation declaring Negroes sent to the colonies and their offspring slaves for life. In short, slavery in British colonial America became a punishment for being Black." With this important distinction, colonial America created the system of chattel slavery that sentenced Black people to perpetual servitude. Slavery created an explicit relationship between race and the law from the earliest foundations of American society. And this new legal category meant that new forms of punishment and torture were invented to accommodate this shift in who could be considered a full person under the law. Soon, laws and colonial codes were written to regulate the control and punishment of the enslaved. Although slavery was not the first instance of race being tied to laws in the new colonies, the colonization of land in North America was based on the assumption that Native Americans did not have rights to the land they had inhabited long before settler colonialism declared North America as uninhabited. Therefore, laws that allowed white settlers to displace and physically harm Native Americans also established an early relationship between race and the law in colonial America. While most punishment was left up to slave owners and could include torture, brutal beatings, rape, and other inhumane cruelties, more serious punishment, such as execution, was sometimes left up to the discretion of judges for supposed offenses that occurred away from the plantation. But whether it was being dealt by overseers and owners or by the state, the result was a system of exploitation and legally supported subjugation that left Black subjects almost entirely outside of the protections of the law. This system remained firmly in place in parts of the United States until 1865, with the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. But even these newly won freedoms could not guarantee the continuation of legal and extra-legal methods of racial and social control. Following the close of the Civil War in 1865, the U.S. entered into a period known as Reconstruction, which lasted until the 1870s. Although there were some legal and societal victories for Black subjects during this time, they were swiftly overturned and replaced by Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow introduced a set of laws that systematically stripped Black citizens of their rights while also relegating them to inferior, separate but equal public facilities like schools, washrooms, and sections of the bus, among other indignities. Black citizens were denied access to basic rights like voting, while also suffering under the weight of racial terror imposed by groups like the KKK and other white supremacists who organized lynchings and other forms of racialized violence. Jim Crow laws effectively relegated Black subjects to second-class citizenship based on a racialized caste system where white citizens were privileged above all others. This system of disenfranchisement was also supported by methods of financial control like sharecropping, which effectively reinstated the financial inequity of slavery through unfair practices. And systems like convict leasing guaranteed that Black people would be returned to a system almost identical to slavery in everything but name. With convict leasing, private businesses could rent the labor of prisoners to complete tasks. The businesses would pay the state, and the prisoners would be forced to perform labor for free. As a result, Southern states started incarcerating newly emancipated Black citizens at a higher rate, for anything from petty theft to vagrancy to other vaguely defined laws. This practice lasted from the late 19th century into the early 20th century. For more on the convict leasing system, check out our episode, Why Do We Have Private Prisons?, right here on our channel. The story of Jim Crow finally came to an official end with the emergence of the modern civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, when civil rights leaders and activists fought to have these decades-long practices rolled back. But that only led to new ways of racialized legal discrimination. In her book, The New Jim Crow, legal scholar, civil rights lawyer, and advocate Michelle Alexander details the relationship between race and continued legal discrimination in the form of mass incarceration. In the 1960s, the prison population in the United States was around 200,000, but by the early 2000s, that number had exploded to over 1.5 million people in prison, with hundreds of thousands in other penal facilities. Think youth facilities, jails, and immigrant detention centers. And much of that increase can be attributed to Reagan-era war on drugs policies, although the war on drugs was first popularized by the Nixon administration in the 1970s. Popular wisdom connects these policies to the rise of crack cocaine across the US. However, according to Alexander, the official political campaign in 1982, known as the War on Drugs, actually predates the rise of crack cocaine addiction it was commonly assumed to address. She writes, "A few years after the drug war was declared, crack began to spread rapidly in the poor Black neighborhoods of Los Angeles and later emerged in cities across the country. The Reagan administration hired staff to publicize the emergence of crack cocaine in 1985 as part of a strategic effort to build public and legislative support for the war. The media campaign was an extraordinary success. The media bonanza surrounding the new demon drug helped to catapult the war on drugs from an ambitious federal policy to an actual war." Because of its cheaper price, crack cocaine use spread more rapidly in poor communities than its more expensive counterpart, powder cocaine. After the war on drugs picked up popularity and speed, we began to see the rapid incarceration of minorities, oftentimes for non-violent drug-based offenses as a result. And those arrested for crack cocaine-related charges face much more severe sentences compared to other drug offenses. For example, it was common practice to follow the 100-to-1 rule. An op-ed in the New York Times explains, "In what's known as the 100-to-1 rule, federal law mandates a 10-year sentence for anyone caught with 50 grams of crack, about the weight of a candy bar. To get a comparable sentence, a dealer selling powdered cocaine would have to be caught with 5,000 grams, enough to fill a briefcase." This wasn't rolled back until 2010 when Congress passed the Fair Sentencing Act. The act reduced the disparities between sentencing for crack and powder cocaine from 100-to-1 to 18-to-1. But despite the partial reversal of war on drugs policies, the US still imprisons more people per capita and overall than any other country in the world. And although African Americans made up only roughly 13% of the US population in the 2010 census, in many areas they are the majority of the prison population, even though they are not necessarily committing crime at a higher rate than white populations. As a result, Alexander writes, "Although this new system of racialized social control purports to be colorblind, it creates and maintains racial hierarchy much as earlier systems of control did. Like Jim Crow and slavery, mass incarceration operates as a tightly networked system of laws, policies, customs, and institutions that operate collectively to ensure the subordinate status of a group defined largely by race." In her book, she details the ways that those who are convicted of crimes are permanently labeled as felons and thus systematically barred from access to the full rights of citizenship through processes like employment discrimination, being denied the right to vote, and being excluded from jury duty, although some activist groups are fighting to reverse or lessen these discriminations. So this episode just scratches the surface of the ways that laws can be established to promote unequal life outcomes for different citizens based on race. We haven't even begun to cover other forms of legal and extra-legal discrimination that occur on the basis of gender, immigration status, sexuality, and class, not to mention other minority groups that have been exposed to increased policing, surveillance, and punishment as a result of legal discrimination. It also raises fundamental questions about the law, namely, who is it meant to protect and at whose expense are some of these policies enacted? My hope is that this serves as a productive primer to the ways that law can be manipulated to serve certain groups over others, and will inspire us all to remain dedicated to recognizing and standing against injustice wherever it arises. This is just our first episode on this topic, so be sure to check out the second part right here on our channel. Hey Originauts, this is just a reminder that you can become a member of our Patreon page. Starting at $3 a month, you can gain access to a patrons-only feed with all types of cool behind-the-scenes footage, as well as 24-hour early access to every new video. And at some of our higher tiers, you can also get other great benefits. So check out the link down in the description, and I'll see you soon.
Show me proof. If it's true, you can prove that it's you, Peter. What? Nah, man. I can't really do that. Don't you already knew that? Don't you really knew rap? Yeah, all these are new tracks. Rap dope like New Jack City. Way before New York City had a ditty. Before Aftermath ever knew about 50. Set music till labels in a jiffy. But they ain't really get me. They all about the cream peanut butter like it's jiffy. Just try to be signed, try to be signed. Feel like I lose weight with every drop of a dime. Drop of a dime. Lord, tell me that I am not wasting my time. But you be proving them wrong with drops of a line. Drops of a line? That's dope. Yeah, your boy still got hope. The flow so clean, clean you like soap. And I will get there one day, and it can happen any given Sunday.
I know I can win. After getting all these penalties, still I can win. Even after all these penalties.
Blood, sweat, and tears coming from my forehead, and it won't stop. Sweat of blood coming out of my pores. Like a blood vessel pop. I give it all in the line of duty. Like I was a cop. And I die for this boy, man. Like a lemon god, the blood won't stop. Cook lamb chop. And the sun will never end like lamb chop. It's gonna keep coming down like loose high socks. It's everlast what I wear when I box. Praying that it go in like I shot. And every time it goes switch, man, I'm shocked. Y'all all Androids, not iPods. Revealing too much on your side blogs. Slave to the iPhone like the iGod. On the back of the dollar bill like he might God. But money will never ruin like the Alpha, Omega. Yeah, y'all playing no games like Sega. What? In the Street Fighter like Vega. Yeah, the Street Fighter Alpha not Beta. What? The Street Fighter Alpha not Beta. What you say, bro? I'm not from the A, bro, but I'm for GA, bro. Bible belt, boy, we don't play, bro. But some pray, bro. On the weak mind like slavery, bro. Like it's okay, bro. Anyway, bro, we know some things never change, bro. Like Yeshua came down in the States, bro. And that right there won't change, bro. And you can stand on that like a stage, bro. Do your thing, bro. Will it be man going long for a quarterback just to get a ring? After I win, crown me as a king. I wanna make my daddy proud like they TV and HD. Cause Yeshua beat the bomb like napalm. And that way my insurance like State Farm. Peter Anderson, young believers, Peter Anderson. Look, I want this love forever. I'ma put it in a letter or make it into a song. When I rap about this love, maybe y'all can sing along. Listening to music on my Samsung, taking hits from all y'all. I still made it and one.
What's going on, everybody?
Bell, I got one. Repping my father's father.
All right.
Grandson.
All right.
The reason why I'm here, really just think about it. Jesus is that reason, so
let's
that's why
get
I
started.
think about him. If you bout it, then I'm bout it. Go ahead and just shout it and declare it to the world. Like you coming out the closet.
Go ahead and share this video while the intro is going. Go ahead and share it to different places and to your personal page. All right. Go ahead and share the video. I got a few things to show y'all guys, and we're gonna get deep into it and really have a talk.
And it don't matter what they do, no matter what the world does. I'm not seeing them, it's me and you. 'Cause there's no love above yours. That's why I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you.
All right. Let's get into it. All right. Let's see here. I got a show for you guys. Did a little more work today. And what I'm doing, and what the topic is the topic today, we're talking about 10 ways to be anti-racist. And this comes from an article from Michigan. It's a Michigan multi-ethnic student affairs for the University of Michigan. So I'm referencing that article. You guys could definitely go ahead and check it out. Let's see here. But I do want to show you guys a video. I'm gonna tie it into the topic, but let me go ahead and play it and share my screen here.
At work, monkey. Just like I told the Mount Laurel police, get these monkey out of here, and you can't do 602 Gramercy Way, that's where I live. Come see me. Bring whoever. 3602 Gramercy Way, come see me, you please come see me.
Peter Anderson.
And what happened was, it's kind of funny because when he was arrested, he actually told people, he came on the news again, and he was pleading his case, and he says, I'm not a racist. I mean, this is what they have to do. I'm not a racist. Um, I call myself the N word, and I call my friends and people around me the N word. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was saying, so I was just using the N word. But he used the word monkey, and he used these derogatory terms. So he calls his white friends monkey. I'm just trying to figure out, well, how deep does the lie gonna go? Like how deep? Okay, um, we understand the using the N word. He try to say, "Oh, I use the N word, and so I use it to everybody," whatever that means. But he uses the word monkey too, so he uses the word monkey several times, and that's very derogatory. So to be anti-racist, this is not one of the steps, but definitely don't do that, because you definitely won't be considered an anti-racist if you do stuff like that. All right, so we're gonna get into the 10 ways to be an anti-racist and how you become a better ally. So I've came into a lot of different discussions um, about what's going on as far as uh, I said there's three things. I've said it before on different chat rooms. I said you either passively racist, actively racist, or anti-racist. So if you are anti-racist, that means that you are no longer racist. So if you are a white person, you are no longer racist if you're anti-racist, and that's the big issue. A lot of people don't want to do the extra work that comes with being anti-racist. They just want to be passive. But if you're passive, you're a passive racist. You benefit from a system passively. Racists benefit from the system by being being actively um, racist. So that's what we typically talking about here, and that's what I want to address. I want to address how you become a better ally and how you actually be anti-racist. And there's 10 ways, and like I said, I'm referencing a Michigan study. I'm not going to show it on the screen, but I'm going to read it here. Let's see here, and then we're going to discuss about it, and then I'm going to open up the call line so you guys could come in here and call if y'all disagree, and or if you can contribute, if you want to contribute some ways that we haven't covered to be anti-racist. If not, if there's no calls, people that want to call in or go to the subject, I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna have my portion where I just rant and I talk about things that I want to talk about at the end of my show. So I know it was issues with someone saying, "Oh well, you should. Why didn't you keep talking about the issue?" I was done talking. You want me to talk for 2 hours about a subject that I'm done talking about it in 30 minutes, 45 minutes? I'm not gonna talk 2 hours for one subject. So I had an issue with someone that was commenting like that, and I was like, call in and ask me questions about it, or say, can you expound on this, and then I can expound on it. But if I'm done with my lecture or done talking, I'm done talking. I don't need to continue on to talk. Okay? So let's continue on here. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, but go ahead and like me on Instagram at the Peter Anderson Show, and then you go ahead and like me and follow me on Facebook at Peter Anderson Music. Okay, let's see here. All right, so let's get into it. All right, 10 ways to be anti-racist. All right, we don't have that much time, so let me get into it. All right, so it says step number one: hold your friends and family accountable. Okay, and then let's see here. All right, so then we definitely let's see here. All right, so no, step number 1, hold your friends and family accountable. All right, challenge yourself to engage in a respectful conversation with people close to you when they make problematic comments by actively listening and utilizing. Um, they talk about the ER the ERS. It's an acronym for explore, acknowledge, restate, and explore again. The solutions together. Yeah. So to be actively to be anti-racist and to become a better ally, you definitely have to hold your friends and family accountable. um there's times when you're in rooms with people, and no one else is around, and people that are actively racist feel safe to come out and say stuff because they might not be around people of color. So they go ahead and they say things, and you're in that room, so you can check them and say, hey, you could be respectful. Everybody don't have to be upfront and blunt like I am. Everybody, that's not everybody's calling. So you can go ahead and say, hey, that's kind of offensive, um, that's unacceptable. No offense, but that's unacceptable. You can't say it, and you might have a discussion about it. Say, let's talk about it. Let's be respectful and talk about this. Why it's disrespectful, and you kind of acknowledge it, and how it may make other people of color feel, and you might restate it, and actually you can look up things to kind of check the accuracy of what you're saying and what and you guys can discuss about it, and then you can explore the solutions together, so all right, we won't address this again in this kind of fashion because of this, and now we're on a common terms. So even if that person didn't know that they were saying something wrong, now they know. And if they did know that they're saying something wrong, you just let them know, hey, it's not okay to say it around you. So you change the atmosphere on what and where you at. So wherever you are, people know, hey, this person is anti-racist. So no little slick remarks, no racial slick remarks, pushing the idea against people of color is going to be tolerated around you. So they know straight up, hey, not to mention anything around you. So if they're gonna be actively or they want to tiptoe somewhere else, they're not gonna tiptoe and play with that around you. So all right, so let's go to the next thing. The second thing is, let me pull it up here. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so it says another thing says you could attend workshops, events, conferences, and protests that focus on race-related issues. So that's self-explanatory. You can watch this show. We're definitely going to talk about things that that will make you not look racist if you're not racist. Because think people do things accidentally. We literally have a bunch of white people losing their jobs, losing their careers because they had a moment where they looked racist. They probably are racist, but sometimes you could slip up and do something or say something that's racially insensitive, and then the way society is now, they will come for you. So you need to take heed, because you can say one thing and it could be jokingly, or you didn't know, or you thought you was a comedian, that just happened to work at this job. And so you actually a comedian by trade or whatever, or that's your passion, and you said something funny, but people didn't know that you was a comedian. Now you said something that was racist, and you look racist now, and then now people caught it on camera, and now it's all over social media. You see where this is going? So it's very important that you be racially sensitive on what's going on. And if you do things like attend workshops, events, and different conferences and protests, you start talking to people of color, and you can ask them if they're willing, because a lot of people of color are tired of being asked these questions, because they like, there's so much information out there on the web you can find out. But hey, I am a resource. So definitely put a comment in, and I will respond to you as best way I know how. Call in, ask me a question. I definitely can help you and guide you on what you do. I have a passion for this. I'm not a person that says, okay, no, I'm tired of doing it. Sometimes I get tired and I will take a break, but it's a passion of mine, and I do want to educate, and I do want to share my knowledge so you guys essentially keep your jobs for not doing something crazy. And you can have the best intention. You just said something funny, and it was the distasteful. How somebody try to be funny and just real distasteful, and you be like, why are you talking? Why'd you just say that? That's the wrong time. You got to read the room better. So you got those people that don't know how to read rooms very well. So, and that's the thing. People can't read rooms and they say the wrong thing. And it could be anything that can happen. So this day and age, please do step number 2, the second way. Attend workshops, events, conferences, and protests, and focus on race-related issues. This is a show that focuses on race-related issues. I'm definitely a resource. You heard it from me. I'm a resource. I'm trying to keep y'all from losing y'all jobs. I'm trying to keep y'all from looking racist. I'm trying to get y'all, if y'all are racist, trying to get you to where you can become an ally and become anti-racist and no longer racist anymore. This is a resource for that. So my audience is not for black people. It's for white people. I want to educate. I'm that resource. So you definitely can holler at me and talk to me. I'm doors open. But better believe I'm going, if I feel a need to share a hard truth to you, I'm going to share that hard truth with you. If I need to say something direct, it's got to be direct. Okay? So, but I'm a resource. Okay. So third step, it says diversify your knowledge and check your information bias. Okay. This one is very important. You need to diversify your knowledge. Like I said, I'm a way that you can diversify your knowledge by tuning in, listening to what I gotta say, calling in and asking questions when something is not clear, because sometimes I don't speak clear. Sometimes I'm direct, but because I come from a different standpoint, or I'm a different angle of knowledge that you might not be familiar with, it might not be clear to you. So you definitely can call in and say, hey, Peter, what's that? And can you expound on that? I really don't understand, so I can be clear about this. And then I can clear it up for you. But you definitely need to, you definitely need to get friends that are people of color. That's how you diversify your knowledge. And even if it's not, you just become best of friends with people of color, but hey, say, man, let me take you out to lunch and just talk to you, and just, or say, and there's nothing, you just want to talk to them and see where their mind is at, and what their dreams and aspirations. Just talk, so you could kind of know where somebody from a different background from you, what their dreams and what their hopes are for the world, or what their hopes are for what they want to accomplish in life. So that will help definitely to diversifying your knowledge, by just asking a person of color, hey, let's go to get something to eat, and I just want to talk to you, chop it up whenever you have some time. And you kind of develop and try to understand from somebody else's point of view, and that's a good one. All right, number 4. It says engage in race and ethnicity courses through different departments. All right. This one says race and ethnicity focused courses outside what is required for your major or area of study. Okay, so what this is talking about is if you say like you're in college. This is for mainly for college people or people that's trying to get higher learning or people just want to learn in general. You focus on different ways to engage racially. So you might say you might want to do a study, an independent study, and say, hey, let me meet somebody that is Hispanic background, or somebody that's black, or somebody that's white. And because you're a white woman, or you're and white woman, you won't understand necessarily what a white male goes through, or whatever that may be. You bring all those diverse things together. You can bring an Asian person, and you bring all these diverse things together, and you just try to engage with them and say, hey, this is a thought. This is what I want to do if it'll study, whether I want to become an educator, whether I wanted to become a carpenter when you doing trade, how do you connect with people in other ethnicities, and how would they want somebody to approach them, and just learn in that kind of matter. Okay, so let's go to number 5. Number 5, having intentional conversations with your peers, friends, co-workers, etc., with respect to each other's boundaries. And this touches on the first one. Actually, I think the second one. It touches on the second one. But this one right here is saying, you're trying to have intentional conversations, and that's what I was saying. Invite somebody out and say, hey, man, I just want to chop it up with you, or hey, hey, girlfriend, I just want to chop it up with you, and you talking to a girl, and you just say, hey, let's talk about, something. I just want to see, where your head's at, and just talk to you, and then just try to even do that with coworkers. It even goes to the respect of the boundaries, but also ask permission, and they'll be more than welcome to say, hey, now I don't want to really talk about that, but we can talk about this, and they'll tell you what they want to talk about. And and if it's something that's a tougher conversation, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. If they say no, respect that. Say, is there anything else that we can talk about that you feel comfortable with talking a bit about? And they might say, hey, yeah, cool, yeah, this. I feel comfortable with talking about this, and then you can learn this from them. So that's what that is talking about. Just have intentional conversations. That's how you can become, a better ally and be anti-racist, by learning. Once you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, then you can kind of say, man, I didn't know. Now I know. Now I know how to address the situation better, because now I know. Okay? All right, so let's go to number 6. Number 6, it says learn with humility. Learn with humility. This is a big one, because it's like, and I understand people don't like rejection, and I get that. I get that people do not like rejection, okay? So when you revert back to number 5 says, have intentional conversations. So when you have intentional conversations, it's like, when they say, no, I don't want to do that, do it with humility. Like, accept that with humility. Be like, okay, I understand. Don't be like, well, I'm just trying to know. Don't get frustrated, because it can be frustrating sometimes. But have humility when you're doing this. Make sure that you're not overstepping boundaries, or you're not pushing too much. I know, because sometimes people are anxious, but just keep in mind that people of color have been through a lot, especially the last year with COVID and everything that happened during that time in the past summer. So I listen. So just come with them with humble. Just be humble. Just a little bit. And and they will respect that. Trust me, they will respect it. All right, let's go to number 7. All right, it says support the work, art, and business of people of color. Okay, this is very important too, because what happens is when you saying you want to be, it's one of the ways that you can financially, and it's actually not, it's actually free to share something on Facebook, on social media. Like if somebody puts up a post, one of your black friends or allies put up a post, to share it is free. It don't cost you anything to share. So just by supporting that work, it actually goes against what the powers that be, what this racist system wants us to do. It wants us to not make everything equal. It wants to have the hierarchy of what racism is. So since it wants to have that hierarchy, by you supporting the work, like the art, the businesses of people of color, it actually says, you know what, we're going to support the businesses of people of color so we can push back against the system. So instead of, going to the place, where certain places benefit just that are not made to benefit people of color, you going directly and trying to benefit people of color so you can do your part and leveling the playing field for equality. Okay. And that's what that's talking about. So it's very important. Like I said, when you see a person of color, when you see my post, when you see anybody's post, sharing a post is free. If there's a person of color started a business, shoot, if anybody started a business, somebody's white that should started a business, it is free to share a post. Okay? But you have to be intentional. Even if you're intentional sharing somebody that is white post if they started a business. Same way you have to be intentional with a person of color that you see start a business. All you have to do is share a post to your page and share it to a couple of other pages if you like. It's free. We're not asking, hey, just pay me. You might not have it like that. If you can donate, go ahead, donate or pay or buy a product or something. But if you can't do that, share a post. Maybe somebody else that knows you might buy something. It's free to share a post. Okay? And that's something simple that you can do. And that's simple. Everybody can do that. All right? So let's go to number 8. Number 8, become involved in the organizations that support racial justice issues. This is important. And I know y'all seen me on this channel before, and I've made it clear that we need white people. Black people need white people. If we're going to get rid of this thing called racism, if we're going to get rid of white supremacy, and the system that upholds white supremacy, we need white people to help tear it down. They are in certain rooms that black people are not in. They are in certain places and sit at certain seats that black people of color are not in. They can actually make the active change. We can encourage. We can, stand out in the street, and you guys could come and stand out in the street with us. But when it's talking about active change in those secret rooms, you are the people that can make that active change in the secret room. Black people don't have that power. We don't sit in enough seats to do that. Just by sitting in that seat is a privilege. It's going against the odds. So imagine in the boardroom, you stand up and say, hey, we need to do this. We need to diversify our people. Then that black person will stand up with you and say, hey, yeah, we need to diversify the people. I agree. And then the Asian person in that room will stand up and say, yeah, we need to diversify the people. So, but it takes white people to actually be active and being involved in organizations that support racial justice issues too. So because number 8 is talking about is to support racial justice issues. So say coming together with, say, like if you're a lawyer, if you're a criminal justice lawyer, you can there might be certain connections that you have that you can help someone else, a person of color. Like say if you know it's a civil rights attorney and they need to sit down and talk with a certain party of people in the justice system, so they can get their point across and their voices heard, and you have that connection, lend a hand and say, hey, I got someone that you need to meet and talk to, and get that nation's attention, and then organization's attention, and then go forward and say, hey, here, let me set this meeting up for you. You're using your position of power to affect an organization that supports racial justice issues. Okay, and that's what that's really talking about. So it's that's good. That's a good one. So let's go to number 9. All right. Number 9, avoid using of stereotypical and normalized microaggression comments. Examples. Where are you really from? What are you? You sound white, or you're really well spoken. That's good. Then this goes into, I don't really see you as Indian, and then it says you have really big eyes for an Asian person. What? I never heard that. You have really big eyes for an Asian person. I hear that's a new one on me. So that's definitely a new one on me. I definitely don't know about that one, but I guess people say it. I mean, this is college, in a college, done in a college study. So I'm pretty sure that it's been heard before. But yeah, so definitely avoid using stereotypical and normalized microaggressions comments. So microaggressive comments, okay? So that's pretty much self-explanatory. Like, oh, you sound white. Like, cuz there's a thing that black people do. It's called code switch. We always do it. It's especially in the professional setting. And it used to be called, you speaking in your white voice, but it's not really speaking in the white. You're just speaking proper English, more proper English than you normally do on a day-to-day basis. When you chilling at home and you relaxing at home, you're gonna speak what you want to speak, how you want to speak. You might use a little slang. You might use you might say some things that are culturally appropriate to say, but just not professional to say, in the professional setting. And so I call it talking proper. It used to be called talking white, because we were brainwashed into thinking that everything right and proper is white, and everything that is not proper and white is ghetto, and you usually associate ghetto with black. So black people. So that's the thing about it. We talk proper. So when you see a black person that talks proper, they're just talking proper. They're using proper English. They're using their English skills that they've learned all through high school or college or whatever. They're using those skills properly. So when they're speaking with intentional syllables and articulating what they need to say, it's because they're trying to talk proper so you can understand them. Because if they start talking like slang or something that's cultural appropriate, it just people might not be aware of what it is, and it's not professional. It's just that your people around you that know you might understand what you're saying, but everybody's not going to understand it. So you're going to talk as proper as you can to back to basic English so people can understand. Okay, let's move on. All right, so there's number 10. Okay, we're at number 10. We're at the precipice. Number 10. All right, so during a national crisis such as the COVID-19 pandemic, do not scapegoat certain racial and/or ethnic groups for the crisis. All right, this is talking about Asians. And like how everything was being blamed on all Asians, as if um, all Asians were responsible for the pandemic, the COVID-19. Um, it's just being sensitive of what's going on. You doing that and not being sensitive, you kind of being actively racist at that point. You pushing that narrative that it's everybody else's fault, another racist fault, not the power to be that wasn't ready for the actual pandemic. And then you kind of being real bigoted at that point, really prejudiced at that point. Um, you're being you're being insensitive of the times. But to be sensitive of the times and to not refer to the COVID-19 as the Kung flu or the China virus, or as somebody would say, that we don't need to even say this person's name because they're not relevant right now. Even though they trying to stay relevant, but they're not relevant right now. And I said that. So I said that. So, but anyways, but definitely that you definitely can. It shows that you're anti-racist by stepping up against that and saying, "Hey, that's not okay, and this is not a joke. People are dying. It's not a joke." Okay. All right. So then that was number 10. That was the last one. So that was the 10 ways to be anti-racist. Okay. So I want to show you something that I posted about tonight's show. And then we're gonna go over it, and then we're gonna try to open up the call lines and see who's on there taking calls and all that, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay. All right. So the next one is, let's see here. Let me pull up that screen here for you guys. And I want to go over this, and then you guys could definitely answer questions. I definitely haven't been looking at comments and stuff. I'm going to go through a few comments, too, as I'm opening up the phone lines and all that, and then we could go from there as well. All right, let's see here. From here. All right, let's pull this up here. All right, let's get
Peter
it.
Anderson.
Let me pull up the right information here. But yeah, go ahead and like me on YouTube as well. Let's see here. And go ahead and click that bell. All right. I got to make sure I get the right page. Okay, I think this is it. Okay. All right, let me put a sound thing over here. All right, let me pull it up here for you. actually get together
Peter Anderson.
even better, because now everything is quote unquote more fair, and we see eye to eye and we see each other as equals, for real. So yeah, so let me let's open up the phone lines. You guys can either go on Zoom, or you guys can call in if you want to call in with a question. I'm about to open up the phone line now. Let me open it up here. Like I said, I don't say that I didn't give y'all an opportunity to call in and ask questions, because I think that's very important, because certain things, or could call in and ask questions, and you can call in and just give your input and share with the conversation. And that's just really what I really want to do, is have you guys share within this conversation. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, so the phone lines are open, okay? And the number is 352-519-0608. All right? And it's in the chat. You guys are looking in the chat. Let me look at some of these comments if I can without disrupting something here. Let me see something here. Let me make sure we're looking at the right one here. All right, it's the one from that page. All right. All right. Switch profiles here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but definitely, guys, I definitely got a new time at 9 p.m. So, like I said, it's no excuses. 9 p.m. is a better time that I think than 10. I was just trying to get the kids to bed and have some time to make sure I unwind and make sure I kind of have a better show. But I think 9 p.m. is actually a better time and more fruitful time. There was a lot more people on today that was listening in. So let's see here. PM is a better. All right, so yeah, I definitely have my link down here. I'm gonna pin the link. Let's see here. I'm gonna pin the link down at the bottom of the live, and once I pin the link down at the bottom, so let's go to an actual song. Let's play one song. So hopefully within that song, you guys will build up the courage to call in, and then let's go from there, okay? And like I said, you definitely listening to parts of my album. You guys can go support the album. Just go listen to it. It's called MTV Sundays. Peter Anderson, MTV Sundays. You could Google it. It'll pull it up on Spotify, YouTube Music, all that. And definitely you could check out the music videos. I did a music video for every track of the album. So there's 11 tracks on the album, and there's actually 11 music videos for them as well. So if you want to check out the music videos. And I did it during COVID, so it was kind of like I had to do it a certain way where I use green screen a lot, and so it was supposed to be in certain locations, and it definitely turned out better than I expected and I hoped, because I definitely had a different vision for it initially. So let's see here. All right. All right, let's go.
My mama believing in me.
All right, the phone lines are open. All right.
Do everything with excellence, even if you serving water.
All right.
In the spur of the moment, I'm dunking.
It's called Waterboy. The Waterboy, Bobby Boucher.
My mama believing in me 'cause I got potential. Believing in yourself, I think it's instrumental. I'm kinda instrumental on this instrumental. I'm on fire, getting hotter like the water in a kettle. Coach got me on the sideline. While I'm here, I'm serving water, trying to buy time. Patiently waiting for my shine time. Everyone is having their season when it's my time. For Coach to put me in the game like I'm prime time. Who am I? Deion Sanders, boy, I'm Bobby Boucher.
That's what I call
You can do it all night.
Phone lines are open.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it all night. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it all night long. All night. All night long. All night long. I'm hearing I can do all things through him that made all things. That's where my head is at, like a 2K. Tryna make this my career like 2K. That's why I'm going up on a Tuesday. Studio work, man, I gotta make my dues pay. I'm in the studio, I gotta make my dues pay. Part of my check to the union, now my dues pay. Over the heat in Miami in a cool shade.
You can also go on Zoom, on the Zoom chat. That's linked in the chat.
That's all you see me wear nowadays. Maybe I wear them cause ladies love cool J's. Doing it and doing it well and whatever I do. I'm successful at being me cause I can never be you. I'm tackling everything Bobby Boucher and it through. And I heard you always say it to you. Go do. You can do it all night. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it all night. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it all night long. All night. All night long. All night long.
Yeah, the phone lines are open. 352 519 0608.
Patiently waited for my shine time. Everyone had their season, now it's my time. For Coach to put me in a game like I'm prime time. Who am I? Not Deion Sanders, boy, I'm Bobby Boucher. I might not be him tomorrow, but I'm Bobby today. I'm the new addition, so Bobby won't stay. Ask me, Whitney probably leading Bobby astray. Just a random thought, never mind anyway. I'ma go, not waiting for nobody to say. You can do it all night. You can do it. You can do it.
If you want to call in about any post that we talked about during the week, so during last week, during today, definitely could call in and talk about the post as well. I know a lot of people that were talking about the post are scared to call in, but hey, go ahead, call in. Go ahead and pull that trigger and call in. I'm definitely going to address a few things, though. If I don't get any calls in, people calling in, I'm going to address a few things, though. And then we're going to go from there, all right?
That's what I call the tour.
All right. Okay. All right. So we here. That was the Water Boy, Bobby Boucher, by Peter Anderson, by myself, and yeah, that was one of my first singles from that album. That I actually recorded that song in 2016, like late 2000, like October, November, December 2016. And the album didn't actually drop until this year, 2021. So, yeah, sometimes, I've heard that song for years, and you guys are just not hearing it. So, it's definitely exciting to see, your finished project after so long. Like I said, a lot of the songs were written. The project was actually done in 2019 and finally dropped in 2021. So I actually have a part 2 coming out, another album coming out, and a lot of those songs are done as well. So, anyways, so let's go. Let's move on here. So I see some nobody has called in. Let me pull up the chat here because I forgot to pull up the Zoom. See if anybody's in the room here. Let me pull that up here real quick, just real quick. All right. Yeah, I don't see anybody. See anybody in the room? Just open up the room. See if y'all want to hit the Zoom link and get on Zoom. Let's see here. I'm gonna leave that open as well. And while I'm gonna address a few things. But if you guys come in, I definitely will see y'all guys come in on that side, and we're gonna go from there. Okay. All right. So nobody on the Zoom here. So let me minimize that. Okay. All right. So I do want to address a few things. I want to share with my screen that's locally happening. I definitely want to give the shout out to that. Let me go to that page. All right. So on my Facebook page, I have Justice Rally for Latoya James. All right. Let me pull this down. Yeah, Justice Rally for Latoya James. It says it's happening this Thursday, July 15th, 2021 at 4 p.m. and it's at Camden County Courthouse, all right, in Woodbine, all right? So definitely if you guys from Brunswick, you guys from Folkestone, guys for Kingsland, Woodbine, St. Mary's, Kings Bay, wherever you at, definitely, jump on, 95 and hit exit 14 to Woodbine, and definitely go to the courthouse. And you're going to see us there. And definitely, go ahead and support that. Everybody's invited, It says it's a meet the attorneys representing the James family, hear from our community leaders. All right. Pastor Knight, I know Pastor Knight's going to be there. Because it was posted by Pastor Knight. So he's definitely going to be there. All right. So definitely go out this Thursday at 4 p.m. if you guys can make it there at 4 p.m. So I'm going to see what I can do. I definitely going to try to get out there and support. Because I definitely, I didn't go to that first rally that they had. I had something to do that day. But I'm definitely definitely gonna see what I could do to get out there on Thursday. Okay, so go ahead and support that. All right, let's see here. And please guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and share and hit that bell, because when you hit that bell, you will get notifications on YouTube, because I live stream on YouTube. I do it on Facebook. It's really not quote unquote that productive, because I mean, as more people that know me are on Facebook. I'm trying to build my YouTube page. There's a lot of access to my music on my YouTube page, also my Facebook page as well. But definitely, when you want to get notifications on YouTube, hit that bell. Okay, all right. So I do want to address a few things here, real quick, before we close out the show. I see people. Like I said, I do want to say this though. I am being I'm going on the McMichael show. I'm sorry, the McMickle show. I'm sorry. Let me pull up that graphic here from my page, and then I could definitely show you guys. Um, I could definitely show you guys. So let me pull that up here again. All right, this is the graphic here. So this is supposed to be me, and then this is uh this is at McMotherwell.com. It's about self-awareness live. It's self-awareness live. So McMotherwell comedy presents. So he's McMotherwell. And we're gonna have a good discussion. We spoke today about a few things, and I think it's gonna be a real good discussion. So definitely we're gonna be live around 6ish tomorrow. So this is happening tomorrow on Facebook. It's actually gonna be on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Cyber FM, Google, Apple, and all that. So definitely, check it out. He's actually on more platforms that I'm on. I'm only on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So he's definitely on more platforms than I am, and we just, we're linking up, and we're gonna have a serious talk. I think it's gonna be a fun time. And like I said, we spoke today, and I told him there's no place that we can't go. So don't say that, there's no saying. I'm not saying no to anything. I'm gonna address everything he asks. I'm gonna say whatever I need to say. As far as I say, oh no, I don't want to answer that, or we're gonna have a serious talk, and we're gonna really talk about some things. So whatever he has planned, he didn't tell me any questions that he had for me. So it's not like a pre thing. I didn't know what he's gonna do. He just says, "Is there anything that I can't ask? What can I ask?" And I told him there's nothing off limits. So definitely tune in tomorrow on the McMotherwell comedy show. It's a podcast, so we definitely gonna talk about some good stuff. All right, so, but I do want to address
Peter Anderson.
a few things here. All right, so let me close it up here. A lot of people, they're misjudging my motives, and I want to address that. They're misjudging what I say when I post on Facebook, when I post on Instagram. They're misjudging what I'm saying, and they're misrepresenting what I'm saying. And then when they want to misrepresent what I'm saying, no one gets on the air and talks to me and say, "Hey, what are you saying? Let's have a dialogue." "Oh, I can't talk to you, Peter. You don't know how to talk." I'm like, I talk all the time. What are you saying? I think people can understand me pretty well. I'm not when you hear me speak, I'm not an idiot. So I'm pretty sure that people can understand me fairly well. So, and I'm not really, I can sit there and listen. What I really want to do is I want to ask people questions. So they say, "Hey, what do I mean?" And they want to say, "Oh, you mean wrong." And they tell me what I mean and wrong. And I just, answer their questions. And I really ask them questions and say, "Hey, what led you to think this?" And it's really trying to get them to talk and open up. But a lot of people won't admit that they're shy, that they're a little afraid, a little intimidated, speaking in front of people. Um, they think they might lose control, or they might say something that makes them look crazy, and I get that. But we're just gonna have a regular conversation. I'm going to reciprocate the energy that is given to me, and that's it. If you come and we have a nice calm conversation, I'll talk and have a nice calm conversation. Um, if it gets a little, a little debative, hey, I can get a little debative back. But as far as that, like I said, the calls are open. I'm actually going to shut it down now. Let me go ahead and shut this down real quick for the calls. And then let me I do want to address this one last thing, and then we can call it a night. Let's see here. Like I said, if you call my number outside of the show, it's you literally going to get my voicemail for the show, and then you can leave a message and I'll get the message. And if you leave a message, it says if you leave your name and number, we'll actually call you. I'll call you when I'm on my show, and I'll reach out to you and see if you're able to talk and while I'm on air. So, and I'll let you know if I'm on air or not. All right, so let's see here. Let me close out the chat room. All right. Okay. So, that being said, I want to address the misunderstanding. And I also want to say a comment, and I'm going to leave it at that. I want to address how people misunderstand what I'm saying. There's 3 things. And I said it in the show today. You're either actively racist, passively racist, or anti-racist. And I prefer anybody, and I think that anybody will prefer to be anti-racist. But anti-racism takes work. It doesn't take, sitting on the couch every day. It doesn't take it's going to take a little more action. I mean, anti-racism could just take you posting something that's anti-racist, as far as you making people aware and saying this is not acceptable. Don't ever let me see this, because you've come to a point where I disagree. When you see somebody that's doing something racist or perpetuating racism, when you post something like that and say, this is what I disagree with, this is never okay. Just by doing that shows where you stand, so when people come around you, they can't do that. We need to be actively, and my whole goal is to get, my goal is not, and I posted this last week, my goal is not to make white people feel bad. My goal is to get white people angry, get white people upset. I want them to be upset. I want you guys to be upset. But I want you to be so upset with passion and get angry with passion enough to make positive change. When people were trying to clean up this world because they saw that it was filthy and the pollution, they didn't say, they got upset, and then they started making positive change. They got angry and they said, I'm tired of seeing this, so I want to make positive change. That's how you turn that anger, that righteous anger, and turn it positive. We're not trying to radicalize people. I'm not trying to hurt people and make people feel guilty. I want you to become anti-racist so you don't have to feel the guilt. And as time goes by, the more you become anti-racist, the more you do anti-racist acts, the less and less you feel that guilt, until all of a sudden you're like, man, I know I've done all that I can do to be an ally. There's no guilt. And this problem is, a lot of people are in denial and say, I'm just passively racist, but I don't feel no guilt. Yeah, you don't know, you've gone numb to it. And that don't mean that guilt ain't there. It's just numb. You gone numb to it. But I want you to feel everything. I want you to become anti-racist so you don't have to feel no more guilt. And so we can get this thing settled once and for all. And racism could be settled once and for all. And that's why I educate. And that's why I say what I say. And that's why I'm so direct. Because it's been so long since we had an opportunity to have this conversation. This conversation has been ignored for generations, and now we're saying it, and it's really, I know it's tough. It's tougher to have a person of color like myself say these things to you. I know it's tough. I know that. There's an article that I posted that got people up in roars as I was reading it. I read the whole thing. It's a 13-minute read. I read the whole thing. And it had me going, and kind of cringing. And and it wasn't even really talking to me, but I was cringing as I was reading it. So I get it. But some things need to be said. It needs to be all left out on the table. It's complete honesty on the table. And once we're honest with each other, we can open up that dialogue, and then we can affect real change, and we can do real change. But you got to pull the blinders off. You can't peek through the blinders. You're not going to see the whole picture clearly. You got to pull that blinder off and just see clear so we can go ahead. And sometimes you trying to fight, and I'm trying to sit there and rip it off, and I'm trying to pick at you holding it, and I'm trying to pick at it. People trying to pick at it, it ain't going to do nothing. But if you rip it from your hands, you might say, hey, you ripped it from my hand. And that first initial is like, hey, how dare you? But then after you see, you're like, whoa, I see everything now. You see what I'm saying? So that's me. I'm trying to rip that blinder off out your hand so you can take them off because you're holding on to them. So I'm trying to rip it out your hand. And this might scratch you a little bit as it coming out your hand. And you might go, what you doing? How dare you? But then you be like, oh, I see now. Oh, I didn't see that before. Taking the blinders off you. So, but that's what I do want. I did want to just address that, you know. I come up from a place of, you know, I've been doing this since 2018. It's a passion of mine online. And then, you know, I eventually, you know, started saying, hey, man, I need to save up my money and go forth and do a podcast and just address some of these issues and really be an outlet for white people to have so they can be able to be educated on certain things. And like I said, eventually you guys going to start want to call in. And I will appreciate that as well, because we need to hear from you. We need to hear your side of point of views, and we need to hear your side so we can have that uncomfortable conversation, so we can make the necessary changes for everyone, for everyone's sake. It's not just for people of color's sake; it's for everyone. White supremacy hurts white people too. It does, not at the extent of people of color, but it does hurt white people too. You see what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. But we definitely could come together and work it out. And hopefully we'll be better. One anti-racist act at a time. You know? So, well, y'all take care. That's all I got for the show tonight. You guys share this video. It don't cost you anything to share. Share it to different platforms. Talk about it. Start a conversation about it. Show it to your loved ones. Show it to your friends. Become anti-racist. Love on each other for real. For real. And do it right. And that's all I want. I want y'all to get into the fight and become anti-racist so you could be no longer racist anymore. Once you're anti-racist, you're no longer racist. All right, y'all take care, man. And let's go. And we're going to go out with a song, with the closing intro. My song, it's called Declare My Love. I actually recorded this in 2013 in the studio in Brooklyn, New York. Was I in Brooklyn? Yeah, I was in like the warehouse district in Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn, New York. I recorded this song. And I was like, this fits to be my intro. And we're gonna play it and we're gonna go out. So y'all guys have a good night. Y'all take care. Like I said, share the video. Y'all guys be safe. All right.
Peter Anderson, Young Believers.
Good night.
Look, I want this love forever. I'ma put it in a letter or make it into a song. When I rap about this love, maybe y'all can sing along. Listening to music on my Samsung, taking hits from all y'all. I still made it and won. Peter, get a life. Bell, I got one. Repping my father's father like a grandson. The reason why I'm here, really just think about it. Jesus is that reason, so that's why I talk about him. If you bout it, then I'm bout it. Go ahead and just shout it and declare it to the world. Like you coming out the closet, hold your wallet. If you got it, then go ahead and spot it. Be a blessing to your boy, but only if you got it. And if not, you can hide it and you can keep it quiet. I'm here to bless you. Don't gotta come out of pocket. I mean, what's happening? What's real? I'ma declare my love, no matter how I feel. I declare my love for you, and it don't matter what they do, no matter what the world does. I'm not seeing them, it's me and you. 'Cause there's no love above.
No love above you.
That's why I love you. I love you. I love you. I love. I love you. I love you.
Y'all have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow show on the Mother Show.